Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, please subscribe so you can see more videos like this. We're going to replace this quarter panel. It's been in a collision. You can see it sideswiped a tree. So what we'll start with first is, we're going to assess the damage and see where we're going to cut it at. And up here, we're going to undo we have factory spot welds. That's where the glass was. The spot welds go along in here. I think it's about maybe 6. We're going to cut it along in here. Um, Usually it's a factory body seam there, but I don't think there is in this car. But anyway, we're going to try to cut it, along in there, because that's where the new panel was cut at that I purchased, and down there is where the new panel also is, the cut line on the new panel that I have. This is the new panel right here. You get them from Toyota. That's the flange that you want to weld back up into the flange on the car, just for reference, so you keep everything where it should be at. Like I said, you get these from Toyota. I got this from the Toyota dealership. You can get new parts. This is for a 2017 Toyota Corolla. You will have to remove the glass. Well, you don't have to, but it's a lot more cutting if you don't remove the glass. So we remove the glass, and we're going to get down here and clean out this area to the bare metal so we can see where we need to drill the spot welds out. I have my drill bit. It's about 50 thousandths of an inch thick. So I'll use this as a pilot drill to just drill pilot holes. I won't go all the way through because keep in mind, the panels or pinch weld together. So there are two panels that you have to separate. So once you drill that, you'll be able to separate it. So I'm just using that as a pilot hole, and you'll see why. We're going to use a spot weld drill bit or tool. Basically, I'm just plunging, going slow, not going real fast, just going slow. Let it turn to slow RPM to keep from burning up the bit. I've had this bit probably 10 years and I haven't burned it up yet. Sometimes I use some lubrication, but most of the time, I don't, or like cutting fluid, but most of the time I don't. I just run it slow, and it'll shave out the material around the pinch weld. And what you're trying to do is just cut through the first, um, basically the first panel, because you have two panels or two pieces of metal that are pinch weld together. So once you cut through the first panel, it should pop a loose. Now this top one, you can see it got away from it. It walked a lot. That's why I drill my pallet so it won't walk. What you see here is where the panel has been cut out. Used a 1/16 of an inch cutoff wheel on a grinder, and that allows me to get behind the panel and inspect it, and also I can work from behind the panel. I can work from the inside out when I'm undoing my spot welds, because it's sometimes easier to peel the metal back versus, in little pieces, versus working with one large piece. So you can see here we've drilled out the spot welds and cut the panel. So you can see where, the spot welds were, disconnected it there, cut it here, and so it's I can maneuver it and kind of wiggle it loose. Cut it with your tinning shears. Now you can work with your tinning shears and your smaller tools like that, and go ahead and continue to drill out all the spot welds and just peel it back. One little sliver at a time. Keep in mind that you want to protect the metal that you're going to reuse, like where the panel was pinch weld to. You're going to preserve that metal, so you're not going to really wiggle it or bend it too much. That's why I trimmed the metal from around it, so I could, protect the metal that I'm going to reuse. We got the panel back up on the car. It's mocked up. Check your fitment, and then you can go ahead and start prepping it. You can see where I cut it to maintain the actual, I didn't really use the flange on the lower part, just to maintain a good reference because the jam was not damaged. So um, go ahead and prep your panel and get it ready for the other panel to be welded on. It'll take several times, test fitting it, but eventually you'll get it. All right, now that you've prepped the panel, it's time to collect some information. So I go to the other side of the car, measure it, and what we're going to do is take it to the other side and transfer the measurements over. And I just write them on a piece of masking tape, and so I have a reference. I've taken some vinyl tape and marked where the pinch wells were. You can actually see where it kind of drilled down into the panel that we're going to reuse, but that's okay. Um, you could take a marker and mark a line, just mark a line where the actual spot wells are if you like, but I just use vinyl tape because it's going to stick out from the panel when you put your panel over it, and you'll be able to mark where you need to drill your holes in the your quarter panel, so it's going to match up to the spot wells or the pinch wells that you drilled out already. Why did we do this step, putting the vinyl tape there? Well, it's going to save us a little bit of time. We're able to put the quarter panel up, and then we're able to mark where the old pinch wells were, so we won't have to prep those areas twice, and we can leave the actual corrosion material, the anti-corrosion material, where it was, without grinding out that whole area. And so now you can see where we need to drill our holes out, and once we drill our holes out, put it back and tack it in. We've cut a flange from the old quarter panel, so it's got the same contour, so it's going to make it easier and it's going to fit better. We've taken it and we've tacked, spot welded it in to the, from behind it. Of course, we drill holes and just, weld it through. You call that plug weld, really. And so we have a flange right there for our new quarter panel to lay up against, and that's what you see. And it lays up against it really smooth. It's a nice transition. Now that we have our quarter panel drilled, we place it back up onto the body and use a clamp if you need to, or you can use self-tapping screws, but I just use clamps. You want to mock it up real good. Check, the fitment of your lights, your bumper cover, and everything. And check where you're going to weld at to make sure everything has the correct gap. All right, we started welding it, and you want to move back and forth, when you're welding, to kind of move your heat around because it'll warp from the heat. Not really the heat, but the cooling will warp it if you put too much heat to it. Here in the trunk jam, you can see some of the plug wells. I use this Bondo here. It's like a glaze. You use it over your actual body filler, and it speeds up the process. It fills in the scratches and the low spots, after you do your coarse body work. And you can see it becomes pink. So, or pink is the color that it is, so it's left over on the low spots, and it's filled it in. And it got it primed. You can use an epoxy primer or whatever you like to use, and then put like a high build primer over it, and then let it cure, and then block it down or whatever, and paint it. And this is the result of a lot of hours. The pinstripes are back on it, and it looks just like it did from the factory. Maybe a little bit better because the factory doesn't really get their paint. They have a little texture in their paints from the factory. But either way, this is the final result, and I hope that this video has been helpful. And like it, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching this video.